I want to show you a bit of a conversation I had about design in Detroit. About 3 years ago, Detroit was designated a UNESCO City of Design. Now, we're the only city in the U.S. with this designation, but we join 116 other cities around the world. And it means that design and creative industries are a major factor in our urban development. And with so many changes happening in the city, I spent some time with Olga Stella. She's the head of Design Core Detroit, about how design makes a difference where people live and work and drives economic development. How does the rest of the world see Detroit and design?
You know, they're fascinated by it. You know, I think when we travel, when we welcome people here, they're really interested in seeing the ways that we're using design to tackle some of our challenges. A lot of that is, you know, neighborhood blight, but there's also opportunities in early childhood education, in mobility. And so they want to learn from us, and they come here really, I think, with an open heart to learn from what's happening in community. And both, whether it's, you know, in R&D, in businesses, or here at the College for Creative Studies and other institutions, but a lot of what's also happening in the grassroots, and just really excited to learn from us and to work with Detroiters.
All right, so Design Core Detroit, you just put out a 75-page report taking a look at inclusive design, some of the economic impact that design can go along with Detroit. Tell us what else you found in this report and kind of how that sets up what you're going to be tackling in the next couple of years.
So I think the thing that's most exciting, and we knew intuitively, is that Detroit's design community is small but mighty. We're 1% of the industries and 5% of the occupations in the region, but these businesses and people power 20% of the regional economic output. So it have a huge impact, and it just kind of goes to my earlier point. People don't often know what design is, so they don't really always connect the dots. And so there's a lot of it's an opportunity to take advantage of a growing sector of our economy. The design industries and occupations have been growing at a faster rate, almost 6 times faster than the average regional economy. So huge opportunity for growth, really good jobs. And what's exciting to us is making the connection between these core design jobs that everybody knows, right? Architect, graphic designer, product designer.
Right.
But for every architect, you have a carpenter. For every graphic designer, you have somebody who's doing the web coding to create that app, right? A product designer needs a team assembler. And in Detroit, what's really exciting is the spectrum of design jobs, that these core design jobs are really part of a much larger design ecosystem. A lot more people, you don't have to be a trained designer, but you can be part of the design community in this larger ecosystem.
We have a pretty aggressive city planning department right now that's looking at different neighborhoods and how to change things around, make them more inclusive, and make sure that people have input into the process of what they want to see their neighborhoods look like. Have you been able to work with the city in that way, or how have you seen things change in terms of people feeling that they are part of the process when you're looking at design and when you're looking at development?
So it's been great working with the city's planning department, and I think they're drinking out of a fire hose in terms of all the things that they're trying to do. A number of their projects have joined on as partner projects that are part of this network, helping to propel the city of Detroit, a city of design vision for Detroit. And what we're finding is that they're experimenting and learning too, as they're trying to figure out different ways of incorporating community engagement and developing projects. One of the things that they're doing is called Design in a Box, where they're trying to take the planning department out into neighborhoods and really work with community members in their own neighborhood on planning projects, kind of showing them the tools of design and urban planning and bringing it right there, as opposed to asking people to come downtown or just come to a community meeting about a specific project. So trying to have much more of an interactive approach where they're developing longer relationships and trust in neighborhoods.
Is there any kind of fear that, oh, you know what, we want to make sure we don't screw this up? I mean, there's an opportunity to develop some parks in some different areas and more bike paths, and there's so many different facets of design and things that you could do in a city. Is there any concern that, well, we've got to make sure we're making the right steps, or we're all on the same page? Or is that kind of the beauty of design, that there are different things that pop up in different spaces?
I think the thing that I'm most afraid of, and you know, we had 1,000 people participate in our process to develop this vision for the city of design and the strategy. And inclusive design overwhelmingly kind of came out of that process. people want to make sure that the design choices that we're making really are for everyone, and that we're really careful about thinking about kind of who is this for, right? Who are we designing for? And if we're thinking about just the newcomers who are moving into the city, then we're forgetting the people who've been here. And sometimes when we think about the people who've been here, we don't often, we create stereotypes, so we don't often think about seniors and families and people of all different kinds of backgrounds. And so there's a real opportunity here for design to be really intentional, but for it to lift up what's already here in our community as part of that next phase of Detroit, not just have some arbitrary standard of this is good design and bring in kind of the shiny, beautiful things and say, okay, we brought in the shiny, beautiful things, we're good now, we can go home. Right. Good design is really about embracing the local context, the people being, at least this is what the people we've worked with here in Detroit have said, is they want design to be that tool in lifting up what's authentically Detroit and bringing that into the future. And we think that's absolutely possible. It's already happening, and that's what's so exciting about this coalition that's emerged around the designation and is embracing this idea that inclusive design is our path to the future.
Do people assume that design is frivolous?
Of course they do. This is the number one thing we hear from the designers that we work with is that businesses, developers often think that that's something I can do at the end. It's an extra. They don't understand that design is really strategy. And if you don't have designers at your table from the get-go, you're not going to have as good a product at the end, because designers are using creativity to solve a wide range of problems, and in doing that, developing a better solution.
Our thanks to Olga Stella. You can see my entire interview with her at myweek.org. I think it's really interesting when you talk about design and the fact that it is an economic driver, and that you have more and more people that are having jobs in that kind of creative sector, and then the encouragement of it and the fact that you have so many different pockets of development happening in the city at once, and how you kind of corral all of that so you're making the right
intentional
design
right?
decisions.
I think that's what they're really focused on, is making sure that things just don't happen, and then we sort of look at them and go, well, that doesn't really
decided
make a
to do
lot of
that?
sense. But making a conscious choice about how we design and where we put things and what we put in or out of the mix, I think is pretty important.
And important that you talk to people who are actually in those areas, in those neighborhoods, and how that design will work with them. All right.